Hi guys, this is Kenneth here with a quick guide of how to make a Warlock in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Alright, so since the first guide is about a Warlock, we're going to make that our class. Warlock, let's make him level 1 for now. We may level him up throughout the video, we may not. I most likely will level him up to at least 2 or 3, just to go over the different invocations. Now the next thing, we have to decide our race. Let me pull out my trusty player's handbook. For races. Oh, half-elf. Or maybe tiefling. I think I'll go with tiefling. Alright, so this gives me a +2 to charisma. Let me just put this down here. Ability, score, INC. +2 charisma. And +1 intelligence. Alright, so let's roll for our stats, yeah? With the Warlock, your saving throws are Wisdom and, of course, Charisma. The other stats, don't really, I think the 3 best stats for Warlock are, it's always Charisma. Wisdom's not as needed for Warlock, but you can have it. Really, you want your 2 highest stats, ideally, to be Charisma, followed by Constitution. So let's roll for these. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay, that is an 11. I'll put that in my wisdom for now. You don't really need a lot. Alright. Let's re-roll again. Right. That is a 14. That 14 to a 16 with my charisma. That's a +3. Let's re-roll again. Let me re-roll that one. Okay, that's better. It's a 14. Let's put that in Constitution. Alright. 12. Now +2. Alright, now we just need dexterity and our strength. That's 13 dexterity, not too bad. So a +1. And strength, you don't really need strength unless you're going into Blade Warlock or really unless you're a fighter or barbarian, and that is an 8. Which is interesting since that gives us a negative modifier. Alright. I'm not going to worry about the alignment yet, and that's going to be something I decide after the background. If you want to build a quick build for a Warlock, you pick the Charlatan background. Which, Charlatan, that gives you a bunch of other proficiencies, which I'll worry about here in a second. But it gives you proficiency in Deception and Sleight of Hand. Pretty useful skills. Since our proficiency bonus is a +5, it's a +2, I'm going to be putting +5 into Charisma. And let's put a +0 with a question mark next to it. I would assume it's most likely just +2, and then we're going to fill in all of our strength modifiers for the rest of our stats. Alright. So, Warlock gets to choose some different skills. So you have proficiency with Arcana. You can choose 2 from either Arcana, Deception, History, Insight, Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, in, uh, investigation, and yada yada yada. Um, I'm going to choose Arcana, and I believe I'll choose Insight. Maybe an Intimidation, but I think I'll take Insight or Investigation. I think I'll take Insight. Right. Since our race is a tiefling, let's go ahead and fill out these racial traits. Alright, basically what Infernal Legacy does is, if I remember right from the player's handbook at least, Infernal Legacy gives you access to Hellish Rebuke and the Thaumaturgy cantrips. Let's make sure, though. Infernal Legacy, yeah. It gives you different spells. It gives you Thaumaturgy at the Thaumaturgy cantrip at level 1, so let's add that. Thaumaturgy. At 3rd level, you get Hellish Rebuke once per day, which we can cast it as a 2nd level spell, and Darkness once a day at level 5. So let's keep on to that. We also get Dark Vision up to 60 feet. Dark Vision up to 60 feet, which is incredibly useful in a lot of campaigns. We also have Hellish Resistance. We have Fire Resistance. Resistant to fire damage. Alright. A Warlock's hit die is a die 8. And at your starting level, it's a die 8. It's just 8 plus your Constitution modifier. So our Warlock only has 10 health. Alright. Tieflings have a movement speed of 30, which is pretty much the same for most races, with the exception of Dwarf. And we have an initiative of +1. Alright. So let's go to the Warlock. Alright. Warlocks are unlike a lot of casters because we get a majority of our magic that really makes us kind of more useful from our patron. Otherwise, you're not really going to be using that anyway as a Warlock. You're going to be more focused on Eldritch Blast spamming. But you start off with 2 cantrips baseline from the Warlock. Eldritch Blast and Chill Touch. Alright, your spellcasting ability is Charisma, and you have a spell attack bonus of, I believe, 5. +5 to hit with spells. Not a lot, but your spell save DC is what's going to be a little higher. So it's going to be 8. 8 plus our Charisma modifier plus our proficiency bonus. We have a spell save DC of 13. Our spellcasting class is, of course, Warlock. And let's think a little bit about our Warlock. What do we want him to do? What do we want this be? Alright, so let's look what the Charlatan background gives us. Alright. Charlatan is essentially a con artist. It gives you proficiency in Deception and Sleight of Hand, and gives you proficiency with 2 different tools. Alright, so let's put this here. Tools. We have proficiency with Disguise kits and Forgery kits. And the fact that you're a Charlatan it shows that you're a lot more sneaky about being a Warlock. You're a lot more sneaky and underhanded. No, if I picked a half elf, I would have had an additional 2 skills. I didn't though, and that's not really gonna mean anything really. Right, we have, as a tiefling, you have proficiency with 2 languages. Common, since just about pretty much everybody can speak common unless you're something like a rock monster. Common and infernal. Alright, so let's take a look. Your equipment from Charlatan is a pouch for 15 gold pieces. You have a set of fine clothes, so I'll put fine clothes in here. You have a set of fine clothes, a disguise kit, tools of the pawn of your choice. So this is where you get to choose what you want to do. Alright, so you can have 10 stoppered bottles filled with a colored liquid, a set of weighted dice, a deck of marked cards, or a signet ring of an imaginary duke. For the case of this, I think it's a good choice. The signet ring could be useful depending on the DM and the campaign you're in. Let's put a question mark next to it for now, and we'll get back to it in a second. Alright, so let's go with the scam. And this can also determine what con you're running, so I'm going to roll a d6. Alright? Okay, that's a good one. And that just determines the item I'm going to take. Since I rolled a 1, I'm going to give myself a set of weighted dice. Since your scam is cheating at games that involve chance. Alright? You have a false identity feature. So let's go to the background here. False identity. Alright. Basically, you have basically what you've done is you've created a second identity that includes documentation, established acquaintances, and disguises that allow you to assume said persona. Additionally, you can forge documents, including official papers and personal letters, as long as you have seen an example of that kind of document or the handwriting that you are trying to copy, which can be very useful. But in a different sense. Let's see. Alright, so let me roll a die 8 for this, and we'll see what the personality trait we get. Okay. A 2 is a very funny personality trait. Basically what it is, you have an inappropriate joke for every occasion, especially occasions where humor is inappropriate. I'll let you fill in the blanks there. Right? Ideals, let's roll a die 6 for this. Alright, that's a 6. That's really for any alignment, which isn't a bad thing. It's a good ideal. It means you have an aspiration. You're determined to make something of yourself. This fits for any alignment, be it lawful, neutral, or being lawful, good, neutral, or chaotic, or evil. It really doesn't matter. Alright, your bond. Let's roll another die 6 for this. Okay. Oh. Alright. That's decent, at least. Now let's roll for the flaws. Okay. Alright, 2, since the majority rules. It's you are always in debt, and you spend your ill-gotten gains on decadent luxuries faster than you can bring them in. Alright, let's put that in. Alright, so let's go with the warlock. Let's go to our features for this. Alright? Otherworldly patron. Right. So let's think about the patron that we want. What kind of patron do you want to have? It can be a great old one, it can be the Undying, it could be a Fae, or it could be a Fiend, possibly even a Demon Prince. Alright, so let's think. What do we know about Tieflings? Well, we know Tieflings are essentially descendants of demons, which is why they had that infernal trait. Um, you don't have to make your Tiefling a Fiend Pack Warlock, but it's not a reasonable stretch to have. Um, Tiefling's a pretty versatile race. But for now, let's go with Fiend, since that is a very good pack, because it actually gives you good spells like Fireball. So let's go with the Fiend. Alright, so we have Pact Magic, which is what we get at level 1. We get 2 Pact Magic spells. Pact Magic, which is basically your expanded spell list. Right, so at first level, you have 2 spells from your pact, including hacks, essentially. Warlocks only have a very different way of approaching spell slots. They actually have the least amount of spell slots, but your spells from 1st through 5th level are always cast at their highest available level and their most powerful, which is level 20. You have 4 5th level spell slots, and all the spells past then are cast as 5th level. Alright, so what we get through Pact of the Fiend at first level is Burning Hands, which is a dexterity save at dex 13. Dex DC of 13, and it's, I believe, 3d6 fire damage. Alright? And we have Command. I'm not sure what that does. I've never really used the spell before. The most used Warlock spell ultimately is Hex, and you get that at level 2. Alright? For 2nd level, I believe you get Blindness, Deafness, and Scorching Ray. For 3rd level, Fireball and Stinking Cloud. 4th level, I believe it's Wall of Fire and Flame Shield. And 5th level is Flame Strike and Hallow. Alright. So, let's look at the Fiend Pact here in a second. Alright. Let's look at the Fiend. Where is that goddamn thing? Alright, Fiend. Alright, so at first level you get Dark One's Blessing, which is a pretty interesting thing. Let's put this down here. Dark One's Blessing. Basically, it's at first level. When you reduce a hostile creature to 0 hit points, you gain temporary hit points equal to your Charisma modifier plus your Warlock level. Alright, so at level 1, I'm looking at getting 4 temporary hit points if I reduce something to 0. Charisma modifier plus Warlock level. Minimum of 1. Alright? That's all you get at first level as a Warlock. You have cantrips and 1 first level spell slot. Alright, so let's level them up to, let's say, 3rd level. Alright? You don't get much else, but you get 2 additional things. You get, first off, Eldritch Invocations. Alright, so Eldritch Invocations are things that make our spells pop. At 2nd level, you have your choice of 2 Eldritch Invocations. Alright? let's go back up here and see which ones are the best. Alright, at 3rd level, you still only have 2 invocations. Once you get to 5th level, you have 3 invocations. You have a maximum of 8 invocations that you can have. Alright, so let's see what invocations we want. Obviously, we're going with Agonizing Blast. And there's a reason why. Agonizing Blast allows you to add your full Charisma modifier to each beam of Eldritch Blast. And that's just a lot of good damage. Eldritch Blast is the most powerful cantrip for a reason, and a lot of the reason lies in Agonizing Blast. Alright? So, what is another invocation that we can use? Well, another good one is Repelling Blast. And what Repelling Blast does is every time you hit something with Eldritch Blast, it knocks that target back up to 10 feet. So up until 5th level, you're knocking something back 10 feet, as well as dealing a maximum of 15 damage through Eldritch Blast, provided the beam hits. Alright, what else do we get? Well, at 3rd level, we get our choice of a Pact Boon. And in Stock Standard 5th Edition, you have 3 choices. You have Pact of the Tome, Pact of the Chains, or Pact of the Blade. Alright? So, we also have to take into account what we want this Warlock to be. Okay? If you go with Pact of the Chains, you have access to the Find Familiar spell, and your familiar is more cunning than a typical familiar. Its default form can be a reflection of your patron, with imps and quasits tied to the fiend. Right? Or it can be something different. Generally, a lot of people go with Pact of the Fiend. Pact of the Chains is a very popular Pact Boon. It's a pretty cool thing to have, sort of like the Pet Master. Pact of the Blade is another very popular Pact Boon because it essentially allows your Warlock to adopt the role of a melee fighter, which can be pretty useful. For the sake of this, I want to be going with Pact of the Tome. And we're going to be going with Pact of the Tome. Alright? What Pact of the Tome does is it gives you a Book of Shadows into your inventory. Book of Shadows. Alright? And this allows you to pick up 3 cantrips of your choice. Alright? And you can also get an invocation later on that allows you to use your Book of the Tome to inscribe, allows you to inscribe rituals into your Book of the Tome. So, well, into your Book of Shadows. So, what cantrips are we going to take? By the way, these don't add to your current list. So you can have a max of, I believe, 4 or 5 cantrips. I think it's 4 or 5 cantrips. Alright, so we also have to determine what we want. Yeah, Warlocks only know up to 4 cantrips. So it's for first through 3rd level, you have 2 cantrips. Not counting the one we got from Tiefling. Alright, so I think the cantrips that we're going to take is Shillelagh, Shillelagh, give me a second, I don't know how to spell this. Alright, Shillelagh. Alright, this allows us to mimic a Blade Lock. From there, you really don't need Ray of Frost, but you can take it. I don't really recommend it. Another good one, let's say, is Vicious Mockery can be useful, but it's not really the best. Alright, let's look at the Warlock. versus spell list. I know it's like it's actually awful with warlocks. Warlock knows, like wizard knows the most spells. Um, I'll take. Let's just give prestidigitation. Actually, no, shocking grasp. Shocking grasp and ray of frost. Alright, so those are our 3 cantrips from Pact of the Town. And you can cast these at will. Okay, I want to copy this over to additional features as well. Alright. And that's what you get for 3rd level Warlock. And basically, there's a lot more invocations to choose from. It's just, the best ones for this point are Agonizing Blast and Repelling Blast. Alright? Warlocks have proficiency with multiple things. We have proficiency with simple weapons, which they're not really missing out on much, but we also have proficiency with leather armor, or specifically armor proficiency that's better than wizard. So we can throw, let's say, a studded leather armor into our equipment. So studded leather. Studded leather armor, which is an AC of 12 plus your dexterity modifier, so we have an AC of 13 on this warlock. Not too bad. Alright. You get a lot of different cool little indications, so let's start filling out some of our stuff. Eldritch Blast is an attack bonus of, I believe, plus 5 for now. Let's put plus 5. Its damage type is 1d10 force for now. We also have Hex, since we got up to level 3. So let's give, we're going to give Hex, because this is like a very huge part of the Warlock is Hex. Alright. Hex is a 1st level enchantment spell, which is a Warlock Curse. It has a range of 90 feet, and it's a bonus action. The only downside is you have to concentrate on it for up to an hour, which that's not really that bad. So Hex doesn't take anything to hit. You don't have to roll the hit for it. But you place a curse on a creature that you can see within range. Until the spell ends, you'll deal an extra d6 necrotic damage to the target whenever you hit it with an attack. Also, choose one ability when you cast a spell that the target has the target has disadvantage on ability checks made with that chosen ability. So let's say you choose intelligence, right? Or let's say constitution if you're fighting in combat and it's a good save. You can reduce their constitution and give them disadvantage on checks. So Hex deals 1d6 necrotic. Alright? It's basically, what you do is you put on Hex and then have it like Eldritch Blast affect it. So even if you are using Agonizing Blast, so let's do some quick math here. Alright. Let's roll a d20 to hit. Let me get my die 10. Okay, there it is. Alright. So, let's say we're fighting a goblin. right? Doesn't have very much health. No, it doesn't. So I'm gonna roll a hit. 15 does hit the AC. Well, 15 plus 5 is an unnatural 20. Let's roll for the Eldritch Blast damage. But before I do that, I'm gonna cast Hex and reduce its Constitution. All right. So I'm going to use Agonizing Blast with this. So I rolled an 8 on my Eldritch Blast, so an 8 plus 3 is 11, and then I'm going to add 6 to that, because I rolled a 6 for Hex. I did a total of 17 damage in that one turn. It's pretty good for a level 3. Alright? Warlocks have proficiency with a lot of things, but like you're better off giving a Warlock, if you do give it a weapon, a quarterstaff. Just in the rare event that you're in an area where your magic isn't working, you can have something to fall back on. Since the quarterstaff, it scales up your strength, you're dealing, I believe, let me look at this real quick for me snap judgments. Quarterstaff. You can also use a quarterstaff as an arcane focus. Because really you can use anything as an arcane focus, it's just you're more likely to have something like a crystal ball or a ring. Alright. A quarterstaff is a versatile weapon, so if you're using it in one hand, just like swing it, you're dealing a die 6. If you're using it in two hands when you attack, making it to where you can't cast somatic spells unless you go through a homebrew or specific feature. For this case, I'll use it as a versatile weapon, and I'll have this as my arcane focus. Quarterstaff, it's a... I'm not going to bother with hit at the moment, but it's a 1 die 8 minus 1 bludgeoning. Right, a die 8 minus 1 since it scales off your strength. Alright, so let's think about what we want our arcane focus to be. We can use our Book of Shadows if we want, but let's think. What do we want? What would this warlock use as his arcane focus? Maybe he has a magic ring. Maybe he has a coin that means a great deal to him. It could be anything. It could even be his hand. For now, I'll say since Warlock can learn the Scrying spell, you can use a Scrying Orb, a crystal ball essentially, as your arcane focus. Alright, so we have this. We have basically everything we need. Pretty sure melee rolls to hit are just... I'm not going to bother with it at the moment. Okay, so we have a lot of things going so far. We have 3 spells, potentially 4. Let's give you Ray of Sickness. Ray of Sickness is a first level spell. Alright. Since he's 3rd level, it's going to be 3 die 8 plus your Constitution. So 3 die 8 plus 6. Alright, so let's do this. I do health rolls a little differently. I know a lot of people roll for them. I just throw it in the calculator. 3 die 6 plus 6. You have a total of 30 hit points. Not very much. Your cons isn't the highest. Alright. Also, intelligence isn't that necessary of a stat for a warlock. It's kind of a dump stat. Same with strength. Even wisdom's kind of a stat. It's mostly your charisma is what matters. Alright, so let's give it an alignment. Tieflings typically lean towards a chaotic alignment. They don't always end up evil, but they usually somehow stray into that. So let's give them the chaotic neutral alignment. Neutral chaotic. neutral chaotic, or CN. Alright? This is an alignment that values freedom and kind of steps outside of the law. You value freedom over restriction, essentially. Alright? Um, I'm not really going to worry about the name yet. Let's just name it, YouTube comment. Let's just name it YouTube comment. And I'm making a reference to Pro Jared. Alright. Since we're at level 3, what do you want to do? How do you want to fill out the rest of your Warlock? And another thing to keep in mind with Warlock, if you aren't the best at coming up with backstories, it's fine. You can say that your patron essentially wiped your memory and you're a Warlock, but you have no idea, or memories of anything before. It's basically a cheap cop-out of not wanting to write a backstory, but it can work. Alright? So, what's the best thing to do when you're faced with something like this? Let me move the other sides around. There we go. Perfect. It really comes down to how you want to play the Warlock. Warlocks are a very difficult class to learn how to completely play, and I forgot to add my ability scores. Alright, so it's a +3 to Arcana, +5 to Deception, +3 to Investigation, and a +3 to Sleight of Hand. We're going to fill everything up from there. +1, +0, -1, +1, so on and so forth. Alright, so that's basically all of our stuff. For ability like saving throws, if you're not proficient in that saving throw, then you just roll a straight die 20. You don't add anything to it. For rolling to hit, there's a reason the +5 is there, is because it's adding your ability score modifier for, let's say you're using Eldritch Blast, it goes off your Charisma, it's your spellcasting ability. So when we roll a d20, we add our spellcasting modifier +3 plus our proficiency bonus. So at 3rd level, we have a +5 to hit with our rolls for spells. A natural 20, on the other hand, just ignores modifiers because it's a critical hit. So you roll a 12. A 15 hits things depending on the armor class and depending on the campaign, of course. It also depends on people's rolls. So 12 plus 5, it'd be a 17. That would hit most things, which is not bad. So how do we want to make this tiefling? Ignore the image, it's just something I had there already. You don't have to put a character appearance, but it's good too. So let's see. Tieflings have pretty much the same life range of a human. So you basically, if you're playing a tiefling, you're playing something that basically lives the same time as a regular tiefling. And I think that's everything. If you have any questions, just feel free to hit me up in the comments and talk about any ideas you have for a Warlock. I'd love to hear them. Alright, later.